Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. I don't think we've done a first-time buyer market update in a while, but kind of some interesting news. I always love it when we take a look at the stats and we see something that isn't entirely expected, right? And real estate is unpredictable, and I think that's something that's important to remember when looking at any of these videos like this. Is I think anybody who purports to truly have the answers for the next several years, well, we have our versions of what we think are going to be the answers. And I think if anybody truly had real insight into the market with any level of certainty, they wouldn't be making videos about it. But let's go ahead and get started because I am surprised and I want to talk about it. Let's get going. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. And this is our Southern California first-time buyer market update for July 22nd, 2025. And really the headline story here is some real unexpected strength in the condo market. And while I could give you a narration on it, I'd rather pull up the data and we can go from there. So let's go ahead and jump in on that. So first thing is prices, right? And what I want you to notice is a couple things when you're looking at this graph. You'll notice our red is entry-level condos and our blue is entry-level single-family homes. I think what's interesting is just how steady these have been over the last year. I mean, we've really been in a market that's been pretty stable with kind of these seasonal gyrations that you see in there. And again, this is our first quartile pricing, meaning this is meant to represent the entry into the market for two-bedroom, two-bath condos in LA and Orange counties, and then three-bedroom, two-bath single-family homes, again, in LA and Orange counties. But I want you to look at just how strong that condo number is. I mean, that was a pretty big increase. We haven't really seen anything close to that since February of this year, where we hit 607. So that 585 number is kind of noteworthy there. That's our first clue of something. If we look at our total monthly payment, again, that number is also accelerated to 4673 for those entry-level condos. And part of the reason why I'm harping on this a lot is I think for the past maybe couple of months, I've been talking about what a great opportunity the condo market has been, especially for buyers who are diligent, who read those HOA documents, who do those things. But what we're seeing, again, is maybe I think some of you took my advice and we're seeing people take another look at that condo market. We're still well below sort of our high point on payments, though. I want to make it clear that, last year, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, we were at a point where we're over $5,000 a month. So really, even though this payment has come up, it's still really in a relatively good position. And it's not entirely dissimilar from where we were about a year ago. In fact, we're actually a little bit less than we were a year ago on that payment. We're seeing on our single family home, it's probably a pretty similar story there. If we look at our minimum household income required, again, this is with no other debts to make that 5% down. We see $160,000 for that entry-level single-family home and $114,000. Remember, that's combined household income. So if you have a multi-income earner household, that would be across two incomes. If we look at our absorption rate, this one I think is pretty interesting because these numbers are at the lower end of what we've seen. But what's remarkable to me here is how big of a drop we saw in that single family number, whereas really it's only been a small movement. We've kind of been trading in that same zone for condos. If you look at our inventory, this is another one that I was fascinated by. So if you look here, our entry-level single-family home inventory is really accelerated through the spring. I mean, I think we're towards 2,800 of these single-family sample homes that are active on the market in LA and Orange counties. But look at what's happening to that blue line, which is the condos. That's really starting to even out. We're starting to see that inventory hold steady versus what's happening on the single-family home front, which is very, very interesting to me. If we look at our percent still active, we do see that these numbers are still tracking with each other. Again, higher is a less competitive market. So this is one piece of data that isn't entirely in line, but we do see, there are week-to-week gyrations in this number, and it's pretty much following entry-level single-family homes. Finally, we have the one that I think really has been the shock for me is to watch and look at what's happening to weeks supply of homes. So basically, this grades the amount of inventory based on how fast it's moving. So while 17 weeks of inventory is very much still, that's a healthy amount of inventory in condos. I want you to look over the past 2 weeks that has dropped significantly. We were almost touching 20 weeks there of inventory in the condo market, and that has actually slipped, indicating that if the number of condos that are active is remaining the same, but the week's inventory is going down, what does that tell you? There are more buyers in that condo marketplace picking up houses. Whereas we see the opposite happening here on that entry level single family home. We moved up to 11 weeks of inventory. What does that tell us? It tells us that relationship between supply and demand is fundamentally different for the entry level single family homes. We're seeing that inventory number go up. And while there might be more buyers in place, there aren't enough of them to offset that inventory increase. Whereas for our condos, we are seeing that the acceleration in buyer activity is vastly outpacing the level of the homes that are coming on the market. We're seeing that relative inventory number drop. Pretty interesting stuff. So, what does this mean if you're a buyer out there in the marketplace? We've talked to a few buyers in the last couple of weeks, and one of the things I'm hearing is there's this constant feeling of uncertainty, not really knowing the economy, not really knowing a lot of things. And I'll tell you, homeownership is not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. And I think this is about where you're going to be in 10 or 20 years. And I think trying to guess the market, back to what I originally said, no one making these kind of videos can tell you exactly what's going to happen in the next year. I don't care how good you are. Even if you get it right, you've guessed lucky, right? What you can do is take a look at some of this insight to understand, how do I make decisions on the houses I'm offering on today? What can I glean from that? What actionable strategies do I have available to me that might make sense in a market like this? Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And as always, if you are in the market, if you'd like to become a homeowner here in Southern California, absolutely, we would love to help you do that and lend you our expertise. We are knowledgeable with condo documents, all kinds of things in that space that are very specialized, and you deserve to have all of your questions answered. Definitely reach out to us. We will see you again real soon.